tuning into the Ask Schellie Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ask Schellie Show. My name is Schellie Fanfan. I am your emotional intelligence expert. I am the host of the Ask Schellie Show, where we go live every week highlighting challenging questions from our listeners. Today, a woman writes in. She wants to know, how can you tell that a man is into you? How can a woman tell when a man is into her? So go ahead and click share. Again, my name is Schellie Fanfan. I am an emotional intelligence expert. I'm a licensed psychotherapist right here in the beautiful, sunny state of Florida. I have the privilege of working with corporations, providing psychoeducation that brings them to their next level. I have the privilege of working with individuals, with families, with couples, with adolescents, providing evidence-based therapeutic interventions that help people in achieving irreplaceable versions of themselves. They learn how to engage in behavioral patterns and thought patterns that attract deserved and prosperous and abounding life outcomes. I have the privilege of traveling throughout this world, teaching and empowering through speaking. And every week, I have the privilege of being with all of you, answering and providing feedback to individuals who have challenging questions. That is what the Ask Schellie Show is about. Please be sure to let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. We are talking about how can a woman know that a man is into her? What are the signs? What are those behaviors? What are those actions that would cause a woman to know that a man is into her? We're going to be highlighting that question. We have a man that wrote in about his hairy woman, and he wants to know how he can tell her that her hair on her body is completely aversive. We're going to be addressing that later on in the show. We have a woman that also wrote in about her aversive mornings, having a really hard time getting up and getting ready and just getting at it each and every day. So we have loaded information for our listeners. The Ask Schellie Show and its team, we set out to ensure that we are providing tools for your wellness toolbox. To operate in wholeness means that you have a toolbox that is overflowing. And that is what this show is about. It is for entertainment and informational purposes only. For those of you who feel that you need treatment, this show is in no way a way to replace that therapeutic process. If that is you and you hear something today or any other day that caused you to feel that you need more support, email info@askschellie.com. We'll be providing more information at the end for anyone who feels that they need more support than just the information and the feedback that we provide on this show. What I love the most about this opportunity is the synergy between me and my guests and the listeners. Your feedback is valuable. If you go into the pinned comments right here on this live, there's a link that you can click on that will take you right here live on stage with me. Yes, yours truly, Schellie Fanfan, your emotional intelligence expert. You can keep your camera off. You don't have to identify yourself, and you can join me right here live to provide your feedback. You can also leave comments right here on this stream. Understand that so many times my listeners go back to the lives, they listen, they read your comments, right? And so your input is valuable. Contribute to the conversation. Be sure to click the share button. You never know whose line of sight or whose line of hearing that this recording, that this live, that the playback will fall in. So be sure to click share. Thank you for trusting me. We are going to go ahead and get into our first question of the day. Again, for those of you who are tuning in, go ahead and go into the comments section. Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Are we ready for the question? Our first highlighted question of the day. If you are ready, let me know in the comment section that you are ready. And if you are ready to listen, my prayer is that you are also ready to pour. Dear Ask Schellie, I wanted your feedback on something. I have been in a relationship for almost 2 years now. We do not have issues. We do not argue. However, there is something that causes me to feel a little uncomfortable. When we are together, things are wonderful. We have great conversation. We have a great time. But when we are apart, we don't really connect. My boyfriend is big on telephone call. My boyfriend is not big on telephone calling and texting. So we do not really stay connected when we are apart. It is like I feel like I am bothering him when I reach out because I know how he feels about phone calls and texting. I am just tired of initiating contact outside of those windows when we are together. Should this be something I am concerned with? Like, how would I know if he is into me as much as I am into him? I will be repeating the question. Go ahead and share your feedback in the comment section. How can a woman know that a man is into her? We have two people that are going to be joining live right here on stage to provide their feedback. You can be the third, the fourth, or the fifth. Just go into the pinned comment right here on this live, and you can join me here on stage. I'm going to repeat the question and bring up our first guest. Dear Ask Schellie, I wanted your feedback on something. I have been in a relationship for almost 2 years now. We do not have issues. We do not argue. However, there is something that causes me to feel a little uncomfortable. When we are together, things are wonderful. We have great conversation. We have a great time. But when hold on. We have a good time. I think I went too fast on the scroll here. But when we are apart, we don't really connect. My boyfriend is not big on telephone calling and texting, so we do not really stay connected when we are apart. It is like I feel like I am bothering him when I reach out because I know how he feels about phone calls and texting. I am just tired of initiating contact outside of those windows when we are together. Should this be something I am concerned with? Like, how would I know if he is into me as much as I am into him? Go ahead and share your feedback. We're going to go ahead and bring the first guest up here onto the Ask Schellie platform. Thank you so much for being brave enough to click that link and join me here on stage. You are now live with Ask Schellie. So go ahead and let us know what your question is or what your feedback is. You can go ahead and unmute your line and let us know what your feedback is or your question. All right, listener, we're not hearing you. It looks like you're still muted. You can go ahead and unmute your line and share your feedback right here on the Ask Schellie stage. I'm going to go ahead and send you backstage. Just be sure that you are unmuted. I have our next guest here. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Schellie show. You are live with Schellie right here on the Ask Schellie stage. You can go ahead and ask your question or share your feedback.
Well, good day, Schellie. First and foremost, can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on stage.
It's exciting to be here. It's a privilege and an honor to share this stage with you. And by no means am I an expert. Obviously, I am a male, so I can only give my perspective in the limited time that I've been here on Earth. What I can say is this. I have found that when a man is really into you, he knows. He knows pretty early in the relationship or in the courtship how he sees a future with you. My father told me at a young age, Schellie, he said, a man will know. You'll know. You'll know when you find the right one, when you know that that's the person that you're meant to be with, you'll know. And I'm a little concerned based on what I read in the comment, from the person who asked, talking about communication. And I believe that communication is the basis for life. If you can't properly communicate with your significant other, chances are there's something else going on behind the scenes. At least this is in my opinion. If you don't want me calling you, I don't want you calling me, I don't want you texting me, I don't want you doing those things. It makes me feel like the individual has another life, and that he's trying to keep that particular part of his life private. Now, whatever that life is, I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that it sounds like there's another life taking place. Because there's a difference between, in my opinion, Schellie, getting attention and being attended to. So let me explain what I mean, right? If a guy's interested, for example, he's going to give attention. He's going to find out likes and dislikes. He's going to do things that would try to make you happy and try to do things. He'll pay attention to what's going on, but he's not being attentive. Attentive means that not only are you trying to hear what she's saying, but you want to also hear what she's not saying. What is it that encourages her? To me, there should be balance in the relationship. To me, there should be, you know, okay, I know that I'm not comfortable with that, but I know that it's important to her. So I'm going to do better when it comes to communication, even though I'm not strong on it. And if I'm really into you, you could believe that that's something that I'm going to do. So for me, in the short answer of things, and of course, if you want me to elaborate anything else, I will. But in the short answer, it sounds to me like there's something else that's being hidden. I truly believe that when you want to be with someone and you're really into someone, you'll know. You'll absolutely know. And if you feel like you're a bother and you're the significant other, that's another red flag for me. If it feels like in your inside that you're a bother when you're trying to reach out to your significant other, there goes another red flag. So for me, yes, things could be great because there's no one else and he probably has the same rules for other people in his life. But to me, I do not personally feel, based on what I've read and in my limited experience, that he is that into her as she is into him.
This is so good. Okay, so listener, the person that wrote in, and for those of you who are just joining, there's a woman that wrote in to say that she is the primary initiator of, as a matter of fact, I believe she said most to all contact with
Yes.
her boyfriend, and they have great time when they are together, but when they are apart, he doesn't like phone calls and he doesn't like texting. Our guest is providing feedback and saying, sounds like there's another life going on. Talked about a man knowing when a woman is right, that it's something that is felt by a man very, very early on, which is consistent, guest, with the idea that it doesn't take a day to recognize sunshine, honey. It doesn't take a day to recognize sunshine. You know that day is sunny from the moment that you wake up. I want you to expand on something before I let you go.
Sure.
Attentive versus attention. You can give attention without being attentive. Can you just explain that again one more time? I want to
Sure.
make sure that I
Sure.
heard you right.
Absolutely. No. And I might have said it wrong. So let me just kind of put it in perspective, right? So when you're in a lot of times, we want to find out what does Schellie like? Oh, Schellie likes the color blue. Okay, cool. Schellie likes this particular type of wine on a relaxing day, or Schellie likes this. So I pay attention to those things. Why? Because I want to show that I was paying attention to what she was saying. And I might do something, for example, that shows that I was paying attention. I come from an old school, Schellie. So, I know that players know how to play the game. They play the game. They know the game, right? So they know the game. So they understand that, okay, I know she likes flowers. So I'm going to do things to grab her attention. Keyword is I'm trying to grab her attention, but I'm not really being attentive. Attentive means that I could literally be around you and I can sense that something is wrong. I can sense
Woo!
that things are going different. I can sense that, you know what, you're not having the best day. I could be not even around you, Schellie. I could be home. And something in my spirit says, give you a call. Hey, you know what? You were just on my mind. Everything cool? You could know that because now it's spirit connecting with spirit, person connecting with person. When you're into someone, it's everything about them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can sense it. You can feel it. When I connected with my wife, true story. When I connected with my wife, and we sat down and we just broke bread for the first time in many years. And we were talking and we realized, wow, we had so much in common, but just in different paths. And when she asked me, she said, well, when are you going back home? I said, well, to be honest, I'm going back home tomorrow. I just wanted to show you that, I'm not as a scared cat as I was, because I still had butterflies from her from when I knew her when I was a child. And the interesting thing was when she said, you should stay a while, Schellie, right then and there, I knew she's going to be my wife. Just from her saying you should stay a while. And just from what I knew inside of me, it does not take long, like you said, to realize the sun. It doesn't. Woo! When a true man knows, he knows. Believe you me, my sisters on this call, when he knows, he knows. And his actions, his words, his thoughts, even how he disagrees with you will tell you. You will see, like, when you come across disagreement, when you come across a potential trial or tribulation, even in how he handles the tribulation will tell you.
Come on.
It will tell you, because you'll know based on that, because even if he disagrees, he's still going to do it for you in a level of reverence and respect. He's not going to come out of himself and definitely not call you out of yourself. And that's what I mean. So when you have someone and you're giving attention, right? You're trying to grab her attention because you want her to think that you're listening, but you're listening for the purpose to gain something. My old pastor said this, Schellie, because I don't want to take over the call, but my old pastor said something that really stayed with me. He said, love is the desire to benefit others at the expense of self, while lust is the desire to benefit self at the expense of another.
Ooh!
Right? So then the question now is, does he love her or does he lust her? See, if I'm going after attention, that's the lust side. But if I love her, there's no way on earth she would ever feel like it's a bother to call me.
I'm done. Ladies, we have someone that came on and said, you have to repeat that. Thank you so much for tuning in, Nakia. You got to say that again. Repeat what your pastor says. Say it slow. We're taking notes here.
Yes.
Thank you, Rose, for tuning in. I see you, Marjorie, Martine. For those of you who are tuning in, make sure you let us know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Sir, we need you to repeat that, sir.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so let me give credit where credit is due. Let me make sure that I at least give acknowledgement and reverence to who I got this quote from. It's from the Dr. A.R. Bernard in Brooklyn, New York. And his statement is, love is the desire to benefit another at the expense of oneself, while lust is the desire to benefit oneself at the expense of another.
Woo! I'm done. Woo! Thank you so much. Please email info@askschellie.com. I would love to connect with you more and have you on a future Ask Schellie show. Thank you so much for being brave enough to click that link and join me here on stage. Your feedback was precious. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, so we got a male perspective on this. For those of you who are just now tuning in, a woman writes in and wants to know how she can tell that her man is into her, right? And so we have another person that's joining us on live right here on stage with me. I get so excited when people join. If you're tuning in, there's a pinned comment right here on this live. You can click that link and join me right here on stage. You can ask questions. You can provide your feedback. You can keep your camera off. You don't have to identify yourself. We're talking about a woman who wrote in. And basically what she says is, When my man and I are together, so this question came in earlier this week, and as a matter of fact, I highlighted it on a live Ask Schellie show at an amazing women's conference that I was at this weekend. And basically what she's saying is that when we're together, things are great. But when we are apart, he doesn't like to talk on the phone. He doesn't like texting, so we just don't connect. I'm always feeling like I am the one initiating contact. Should I be concerned about this? And how can I know that he is into me? This is what she said in her question. And so our first person that provided feedback says something is going on. Sounds like he may have another life, that you should never feel like you are a bother anytime. Queens, he was talking to us queens. We should never, ever feel like we are a bother when we're trying to connect with our kings. Right? And so he says right there, the fact that she believes that it's a bother or feels like it's a bother is an issue. He talked about how you can give attention to a woman, but man, when you are in tune and you are in tune with that queen and you are seeking for her to, you feel like you have found your rib, that there's a difference between giving attention and being attentive. When you are attentive, you are connected spiritually. Come on, somebody. It's okay. You can give me the attention, but I want someone attentive. I want you to understand. I want you to feel that my energy is low today. I need you to feel that I'm feeling depleted. I need you to know the very words that you need to say to build your queen back up. I need you to know when my crown needs to be straightened out. That's what it means to be attentive. So to answer your question, how do I know when a man is into me? When he's being attentive to you, right? Being attentive, and you don't have to beg for it, right? Because he's into you, he gives it freely. He understands that you are the prize. Now, of course, I'm ad-libbing there, but oh my gosh, that was so good. Those of you who are tuned in, let me know who you are, where you are tuning in from. Let us know your feedback. We have another person who's joining me here live. You can do the same thing by clicking on the link in the pinned comment, and you could join me right here. How does a woman know? How does a woman know that a man is into her? We have our next person here. Your camera is off. We don't see who you are. You can go ahead and unmute your line and share your feedback. You are with the Ask Schellie Show.
Hey, Schellie, thanks for having me.
Hello, we got another man. We got another man, ladies. Okay, go ahead.
I agree with a lot of the stuff the last caller
Go ahead.
said. I would just give you my 2 cents on it.
We're having a hard time hearing you. I think you're going in and out. Just make sure that you have a strong signal. We'd love to hear your feedback. And as our the person who has joined us, and I keep saying caller, I don't know if it's the person's called in or logged in. Let us know what you think. You who are on, who are tuning into this live, let us know what your thoughts are. Is that something that this woman should be concerned about? That she's always the initiator, she's the one calling, she's the one texting. Half the time he's not really into that, so she feels like she's a bother. What are your thoughts? And how does a woman know when a man is into her? Guest, are you still there? Okay, it looks like he has fallen off. So, all right, let me know what you think. Those of you who are tuned in, how does a woman know that a man is into her? I'm going to give our guests another opportunity to come on. If you are tuning in live, you can do the same. Go ahead and click on that link. You can share your feedback right in the comment section. We are talking about signs that a man is into you. How would a woman know that? And so our first person that provided feedback indicated that when a man is attentive, right, not only gives attention, because that could be easier, but to be attentive, that takes love and energy and intention. This is from a man that knows that he knows that he knows that I'm speaking to my rib. I think the person is logged back in. Hello, you are joining the Ask Schellie Show. We are live right now. Your camera is off. You are sharing the stage with yours truly, Schellie. Schellie Fanfan. Please provide your feedback.
Yes, I just wanted to comment that the last caller, like I said, I agree with a lot of the stuff he said. I went for quite a few years.
We're still having a bad connection.
Sometimes it's a
Go ahead.
challenge when a man is set in his ways and he's been doing things on his own for a long time.
We're still having a hard time hearing you. I'm so sorry. We would love to hear your feedback. It's not coming in clear. If you can just check your Wi-Fi connection and join us back. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We do have some feedback right here from those who are commenting. We have Nakia who says reciprocity is important. Both parties should be calling and reaching out. If either party is lacking the desire to reach out, they aren't into the other person. That's pretty clear. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Schellie Show. Thank you for your feedback. Guys, this woman is really needing help. She wants to know, how can she tell that this man is into her? She's always reaching out. Is that an issue? Is it an issue that she's always the initiator? Please provide your feedback. I'm going to go ahead and provide mine. I wasn't able to hear the person who is trying to reach out to us to provide feedback. It was some male feedback that we need to hear. And so hopefully we are able to hear him a little bit later. So there are certain factors that are crucial in a thriving relationship, okay? There are certain factors that are just crucial in a thriving relationship. And the reason why I say that is because you may hear something today and say, well, I really don't do that. And that's okay because we're okay, right? My relationship is okay. We don't do that, but we're okay. Let me tell you something about the Ask Schellie Show. The Ask Schellie Show is not for individuals who are okay with being okay. It's just not. This show, the people that tune in, the people that glean and gain and take away from this are individuals who want to thrive, who want peak performance, who want the best, who want to abound, and who want to prosper beyond what they could have ever imagined or think. It's possible. So if you are okay with being okay, if you are okay with being in a mediocre relationship, then you may say, we don't have those factors, but we're okay. This show is designed for individuals who want the very best, right? Because they understand that it's not, that the best is not only something that they want, but that it's also something that they deserve. So there are certain factors that are crucial in a thriving relationship. Of these factors is consistency and communication, right? Of these many factors, which we can't get into today, are consistency and communication. So what I'm hearing is, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself. It'll be very, very similar to the feedback that I gave on my live Ask Schellie show, which I did literally live with people that I could actually reach out and touch. What I'm hearing is that your feel good, right? Because she talks about things are so great when we're together. So your feel good, right? We all know what that is. Your feel good is limited to when you and your partner are together. That feel good disappears once you guys are apart. Your satisfaction cannot be limited to how you feel when you guys are together only, but how you feel when you guys are not together as well. That feel good should continue. It should not be limited to only when you guys are together. How you feel when you guys are apart matters. How you feel when you are not agreeing on a matter, right? How you feel when you are not agreeing on a matter is what the feel good should continue even then, right? So how you feel when you are not going, when you are going through challenges. Let me say this. Sometimes we think that, expecting things to be well all the time is unrealistic, right? And it may be. And I'm not saying that we should feel good all the time, that we should be on this emotional high all the time. I'm not necessarily saying that. But there are certain things that should not necessarily change or should be contingent upon the temperature of that relationship, right? So your satisfaction cannot be limited to how you feel when you guys are together only. We already talked about that. So how do you feel when you guys are not agreeing on a matter? How do you feel when you are going through challenges? Listen, just as a quick example, you can be going through issues with someone that you are with and still feel valued. You could be going through issues with a person and still feel prioritized. You can be going through issues and still feel like you matter. You can still feel like you are the prize. You can still feel like the queen that you are. So the inconsistency with you feeling like you matter is a red flag. That is a concern, right? There's an inconsistency with you feeling like you matter. That is an issue. As far as the communication goes, that is the lifeline of a relationship, at least a significant part of it. So to not maintain connected through communication when you guys are apart is also an issue. Now, there's a lot that we do not know. If you guys live together and you are referring to periods where he's at work for 8 hours and comes back home and you're like, we don't communicate when you're gone, that's an issue. You may need an assessment. So there's a lot that we don't know, right? But it sounds like you guys may be maybe in a long distance relationship, or maybe you just live apart. At any rate, with the limited information that we have, and to answer your question, should this dynamic in your relationship be something that you are concerned with? And the answer is yes. It is absolutely yes. Your feel good should not be contained to only when you guys are together. I often ask individuals that come in for counseling, how does he make you feel when you guys are together? How does he make you feel when you are apart? How does she make you feel when you guys are together? How does she make you feel when you are apart? Right? So no matter what may be going on, we're getting along, we're not getting along, we're on the same page, we're not on the same page, we're kind of snippy with one another, we need a break from one another, we can't live without each other. Whatever it is, those circumstances should not guide or determine whether you should feel valued or not. Your value, you feeling like a queen, should be irregardless of the temperature of your relationship or what's going on at that time. Communicate your needs to him. Communicate your expectations to him very, very clearly, and hold him accountable to meet your stated needs and expectations. And if he does not rise to the occasion, you have the opportunity to show yourself. Okay, I want you to listen. You have the opportunity to show yourself honor by transitioning out of a situation where you are not celebrated. Okay, let me say this again. You communicate your expectations, which a lot of the times are connected to emotional needs, right? You communicate your expectations, make sure that he's heard you, ask him to repeat back to you what he's heard, right? And it may look a little something like this. Well, John, for the past 2 years, we've had a great relationship. And when we're together, things are wonderful. And when we are apart, it doesn't feel so wonderful because you really don't like to talk on the phone. You don't like to text. But I have an expectation that we stay connected via phone calls and text messages when we are apart. I do expect to hear from you at least twice a day when we are apart. That's the only way that we can communicate. And that is my expectation of you. And I want to know I want to know what your response to this and whether or not you are willing to meet this expectation. Boom. That's it. So you want him to repeat back to you what it is he heard, right? So what do you hear me saying? Right? So that's a very nice way of telling someone repeat back and without them feeling like they're in kindergarten, right? So you just learned something. Add that to your toolbox. What is it that you hear me saying? It's important when you're communicating with someone that you love that you say those words. What do you hear me saying? Well, I hear you saying that you want to control my life, right? Because you want to make sure that we're actually on the same page, because if he says something like that, guess what? You guys are not on the same page, and then you can work that out. So that's very important in communication, listeners, to use that statement. What is it that you hear me saying? Right? And then if you guys are on the same page and the person is able to reflect and say back to you exactly what it is you are saying, then you want to go to that very last step. And that is getting a commitment from the person. Are you committed to meeting this expectation? Sometimes we have conversations and we don't leave that conversation with this mutual understanding that you are going to make every effort to meet this expectation. So communication is key. Make sure that you are communicating your needs. That's very important. And I also want to say this, and I don't know, just to be fair, I had a client who was in a relationship that was very much like this. They had great times when they were together, and then sometimes they would go days and even weeks without speaking. Well, later on, she found out that he battles with chronic depression, chronic severe depression. And he would go through long periods of time with just not wanting to connect because of his depression. And so when she found that out, she decided to stay with him. He went into therapy, but then along the way, he started to become inconsistent with therapy. And during those inconsistent periods, he would fall back again. And guess what? She left. And let me tell you why she left. She left because she realized that he did not value the relationship enough to do what he needed to do to be an asset and not a liability. And so she went ahead and she left, right? And this speaks very loudly to this fact that you may understand something or circumstances that someone is going through, but you don't have to necessarily introduce that or allow that in your life. You could be completely understanding. You could have that empathy, but you don't necessarily have to deal with it. And that is okay. Dr. Janie Lacey says it best. She says that you cannot cure what you did not create. You cannot cure what you did not create. So this client got free. She understood that, you know what, as much as I understand this whole depression thing, I don't want that in my space. And I'm not saying that's the situation. I don't know if he's going through some type of emotional injury. He's having commitment issues. I don't know. But guess what? You have the opportunity to get free. Set your standard super high and do not settle for less, no matter what. I want to hear from my listeners. What do you have to say to this woman who is saying that she is always initiating contact with the man that she loves? All right. So we did have Nakia. I just want to repeat this one. She said reciprocity is important. Both parties should be calling and reaching out. If either party is lacking the desire to reach out, they aren't into the other person. Rose Wright says, I would figure his love language and share my love language to him. And that's when communication is really, really important. That was so good, Rose. Jackie Ganthier says, if she has to do the majority of the work, he's not that into her. She should have a conversation and just ask, what's up? That's sometimes scary because it means he could run for the hills, but that's the case. Let him go. She may find there's a reason, but even then, find a solution. When the man is into you, you most definitely know in his actions. Nakia says, everyone should be pursued. This is good. Everyone should be pursued. You want to know your mate desires you and your presence. If a person goes days without contacting you and they are good with never initiating, there is a major problem. You should be equally working towards whatever you guys seek to have. So good. And we have Jewel Maxwell. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ask Schellie Show. She says, "Whoo, child, that's good." I'm not sure what part was good, but this is all so good. So Queen, you asked, is this something that I should be concerned with? I think it's pretty clear that a majority of my listeners says that you absolutely should be concerned. You should be pursued. You should feel like that you're valued. Your man should be in tune with you and attentive and not cause you to feel like you are a bother. You should never have to be the initiator of all contact. Queens, we are the prize in all of our beauty and our wisdom, our discernment, our prophetic eyes that we have to protect our men, even in our submission. We are the prize. God knew in all of the creations that he made. He said, wow, look at the sky and it's good. The fowls of the air, oh, it's good. And the fish of the sea and it is good. God called all of his creations good. But when he created man, God said, hold up, something's missing, and knew that man needed a helpmate. And then he created a wombed man. That is a woman. And all of her greatness, God knew that the man needed this woman. Listen, you having to initiate all contact, this community says no. This community says no. You should not be the one initiating all contact with your man. Whether he says, oh, I don't like speaking on the phone, or I don't like texting. Someone said this when we had the live show on Saturday. He says, even if it's true, and this was coming from a man, even if it's true that he doesn't like speaking on the phone or texting, a man that is into you will break those behavioral patterns simply because he's into you. Simply because he's into you, he will break those behavioral patterns. And so I think that you are free to run. We have someone that joined right here on this stage. Listen, there's a pinned comment that gives you a link to join me right here on stage, and you can provide more feedback to the person who wrote in. So we are talking about a woman who is saying, I'm always initiating contact with the man that I love. And I just want to know, how does a woman know when a man is into her? So we have someone else joining us here on the Ask Schellie stage. So listener, thank you for being brave enough to click that link. You are live on the Ask Schellie show. You can go ahead and ask your question or share your feedback.
How we doing today?
Oh, we are good. We are on fire. We got women listening and men listening. We want to know how women should know when a man is into her.
Well, I think that when a man, when he's into a woman, his woman, you'll see his effort level is gonna show that. Guys, when things start off in the beginning, all guys are interested. So it's not necessarily a whether, it's an if or are they interested. All guys are interested in the beginning. It just depends on what their ultimate goal is. Their ultimate goal is to make you their woman. Their ultimate goal is to hit it and quit it. All guys show interest in the beginning, and they are interested. Now, as you go on, and I'm not sure the length of this relationship that this person is in, but it sounds like she's doing a lot of the initiation. She's doing a lot of the communication. I would just be a little cautious. I would tell my sister to be very cautious. Maybe that brother has something else going on the side. Maybe maybe he's just not that much into her. Because if a brother is, let's say, busy, he works a lot. Maybe he has kids and the kids live with him, shared custody, and he has other things that are going to occupy his time that prevents him from communicating. Or prevents him from calling her. He'll communicate that up front. Guys who are interested, they'll disclose, hey, I share custody with my ex. So sometimes when the kids are with me, especially when they're young, they occupy a lot of my time. So I can't call. I won't be able to communicate as much as when the kids aren't with me. Or if they're working a lot, maybe they have 2 jobs. If a guy is interested, he is definitely going to inform the lady and let her know so that her mind can be at ease. Because if he's interested, and that's a big if, we want to make sure that we're disclosing as much information as possible to keep things running smooth, to make sure that she understands that we're interested. We just got a lot on our plate. Maybe he goes to school. Maybe there's other things. But you got to communicate it. And if he's not communicating it, if there's no information, if you don't know why he's not responding, or you guys don't talk a lot when y'all aren't together, then I would think that there's probably something else going on that you need to be concerned about.
Ooh, all right. So, and I thank you so much. And I don't know if this is going to change your feedback, because I think that what you're saying is pretty much in line with what we've heard. They have been together, sir, for 2 years.
2 years is a long time for there still to be a little bit of confusion on the level of communication when you're not together. 2 years is a very long time. In my opinion, those are bridges and things, hurdles that you kind of cross, and you have a conversation and you discuss anywhere between 3 to 6 months. That first 3 months you're getting to know each other. 3 months after that, you're still having fun and enjoying getting a little closer. But you're talking about 2 years. That's a significant amount of invested time. And if you still don't feel like you guys are connecting when you're not together, when you're together, it's all fine, it's great, it's wonderful, it's passionate, it's all of that. But then when he goes away, literally he's ghost. Look, I don't wanna sound negative because I'm naturally a glass half full person. But after 2 years, there's little to no communication when you guys aren't around each other, or he'll just pop up and call a little bit later. To me, that's a red flag. Super red flag.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That's exactly what she wrote into here. Like, is this something that I should be concerned with? And our listener who is contributing to this conversation says, absolutely, you should be concerned. And one of the things I love that was said at the beginning is that when a man is into you, you can judge that and evidence that by the effort that he puts into you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ask Schellie Show. Thank you for joining me here on stage. Again, you can judge that by the effort that he places into you. There is someone that is actually live on stage that doesn't want to come on or come back on. I'm trying to think of, okay, this is the person that came on first that provided this feedback. And I wanted to make sure that I put it here so that you guys can see it. And that is this. Let me see if I can show it so you guys can see it. Appreciation means to add value to what has been given to you. You make time for what you value. Point blank, period. Right? We have to stop. I think women, we're just kind of wired to just understand and nurture the needs of other people, right? But we got to get to a point where we're prioritizing ourselves, right? That we're able to understand, like, I get it. I get that you have emotional issues and you're emotionally unavailable because you have abandonment issues. But I am choosing not to allow that into my space. That's just not what I want from my life right now. And that is okay. It's okay for you to understand and not stay. It's okay for you to understand and not stay. It's okay to be empathetic and not stay. Pray for the brother. Pray for the brother. Refer him to a counselor, right? But it's okay to understand and still leave anyway, right? It's okay to understand that this person is giving me their best, but their best is just not meeting my emotional needs. That is okay. It is not okay to stay in a situation where you feel like calling or texting someone you love is a bother after 2 years. Our guest just said it, 2 years is a long time. I think you've got all the feedback that you need for the woman that had wrote in. Thank you so much for writing in and trusting this community to provide you feedback. We're at 12:55. We have just a few more minutes. I want to address the question with the gentleman that has the hairy girlfriend that doesn't know how to tell her that her hairiness is aversive to him. Let's go ahead and jump over to that question right now. Make sure you stay tuned and provide your feedback. Don't leave me on this island alone. And it says, and it reads, Dear Ask Schellie, I will make this quick. It wasn't quick. But I will make this quick, he writes. My girlfriend watches your show religiously. Hey, thank you. She catches the replay on Tuesday nights when she gets off work. I am literally writing in because I do not know how else to tell her that I am completely turned off by all of the hair on her body. So if that's you and you're hairy and you watch my show on Tuesday evenings when you get home from work, well, guess what? I mean, it's not brain surgery, okay? So here we go. I don't know how else to tell her that I'm completely turned off by all of the hair on her body. My girlfriend has to be the most beautiful woman in the world. Oh, she is gorgeous. but also hairy. She used to shave her legs, underarms, and vaginal area when we first met, but does not do those things anymore. I will jokingly tell her that she looks like King Kong, and she laughs along, but I know I must communicate my aversion more seriously. Her body hair makes cuddling gross and oral sex difficult to enjoy. So I hope your feedback will cause her to shave. All right. So let's do a quick recap here. Let's just do a quick recap. And please let me know what you think. If there's anyone who's live on stage with me and you want to return to the stage and provide feedback, you can go to the private chat and message me and let me know that you want to come back on. All right. So this is the quick recap. Right? When it comes to all matters related to intimacy, and we've talked about sex and intimacy right here on the Ask Schellie Show very, very often. And we have discussed that we have to examine why, right? How a couple is thriving in 3 different sex zones. That's cold, warm, and hot. In the cold zone, we're talking about those day-to-day life operations that clearly prioritize the unit, right? That clearly prioritize that relationship, that marriage. And there's the warm zone where we're talking about intimacy and conversations of care and being attentive to one another, being in unity with one another, and then going into quality time, eye contact, verbal contact, skin contact. How in tune are you guys with each other sexually? How much do you flirt? And all those other things. That's warm zone. And then we get into hot zone, where we're talking about how 2 people are sexually gratifying each other. And in order to maximize that, there has to be very clear understanding of what that person wants and how they're sexually stimulated in 5 of their senses. This is what I like to see. This is what I like to hear. This is what I like to smell. This is what I like to taste. This is what I like to feel, right? Our 5 senses. So every couple should have this conversation, and should have this conversation ongoingly, if that's a word, where they're discussing those 5 things. And this is the best way to do it. I'm going to recommend that you guys do this together. And you can say, well, you say that she watches the show. Just say, you know what? I heard from a psychotherapist today, right, that couples should talk about how they are sexually stimulated in these 5 different, using these 5 different senses from the context of these 5 senses. And so she suggested that couples sit down and talk about it. Talk about the things that they actually want and the things that they don't want, right? So I want to see you naked. I don't want to see you in a muumuu. I want to hear your natural response to what is happening in bed. I don't want to hear Luther Vandross. I want to feel your beautiful skin. I don't want to feel your hairy skin, right? So you sit down and you just talk about all the things that you want to see and the things that you prefer not to see, the things you want to hear, the things that you prefer not to hear, the things you want to smell, right? It could be, I want to smell your natural body odor. I don't want to make love to a mango. I don't want to make love to a strawberry. I don't want your 99-cent Walmart lotion on. I just want to smell you, right? But making sure that you have that courageous conversation and give her the opportunity to do the same. You guys are doing it together, assessing what you want to see, what you don't want to see, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, what you want to smell, what you don't want to smell, what you want to taste, what you don't want to taste. And in this particular case, what it is you want to feel and not feel. Actually, in this case, those are 2 different senses that's affected, right? You want to feel smooth skin. You don't want to feel spiky or hairy or nasty, right? You don't want to feel like you're laying in bed with another. So anyway, right? These are the things that you want to see and the things that you don't want to see, right? And so it's important just to have that conversation. I don't know. One of the things that I see since I have been doing this show and just being in this field of mental health and helping couples really access access a state of thriving in their relationships, is just how much people that love each other do not communicate how they really feel. It almost always boils down to communication. So sit down with her. Let her know what you heard today and what you learned today. And say, here's some paper. I got some too. Let's make this list together. Let's make the list of what I want and what I definitely don't want. And that's going to be a perfect opportunity to share how you feel. I would say, why don't you go ahead and buy her a spa package where she can get her legs waxed and she can get a Brazilian wax. She can get her back waxed. Whatever else needs to be waxed, make it fun, make it nice, make it, something that you're doing as a couple to spend that time with one another. So you can top that conversation off with that spa package. Good luck to you. All right. What does everyone have to say about the hairy body? Anyone have any feedback about the hairy body? All right. Let's see. And so Rose says she's finding out tonight. Absolutely. And Jewel Maxwell says, right, LOL. Sandy says, oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my gosh, Rose, I said the same thing. Rose says, give her a spa package to get waxed. Yes, that would be such a nice way to top off a courageous conversation. And Jewel says, make love to a fruit. I'm telling you, I think that we think that men want to smell that, right? Why do we get the mango lotion? We get the mango lotion, we get raspberry mixed with a splash of banana. And, I remember counseling a couple where the man said that when my wife is in the shower, I'm like in the hamper trying to like rub her panties under my nose. I'm going to be honest. I'm not making that. I cannot make that up. And that was because he really found all the lotions and the perfumes aversive, but just never told her, because he's like, if that's what makes her feel sexy, if that's what makes her feel sexy, I'm going to allow it. We have someone that's joining us on the Ask Schellie stage. Oh, you were on before. Go ahead and provide your feedback, sir.
Hey,
you are live on the Ask Schellie show. You can go ahead and provide your feedback.
All right. Can you still hear me okay?
Oh, yes, we can.
All right. I think it was, you did actually touch on it, but it's kind of easy to just say, well, you just need to tell her the truth. You got to, tell her how you feel, communicate with her, let her know what you don't like or what you have an aversion to. However, I think it's important, like you said, you got to have an open conversation, good communication back and forth, because I would question, if she didn't do it before, why is she doing it now? Did you do something that maybe put her in the mindset or in the place to where she was like, well, I'm just going to let all my hair grow? What about you? Or did you have a six pack and now you have a beer gut?
Ooh.
Did you put on some extra weight? Did you do something that caused the woman that you're with to maybe change up her style a little bit as well? So definitely have an open conversation back and forth about, and I would actually start it off with putting it on you and asking her, is there anything about me that has changed that since we've been together that you don't like, or am I still enough for you? Is everything that I do or how I look and how I smell? Put it on you first. Take the ownership first, so she doesn't necessarily feel so attacked by you, and then that might be able to open up the conversation a little bit better. But I don't know. I would think that if she had a drastic change, maybe something that you did or something that you are no longer doing caused that change.
That's so good. And so the recommendation that you're making is that this gentleman go and put it on him to allow good conversation to flow.
Yeah, put it on you. Make sure that people don't like feeling attacked, so create a safe space. And how do you do that? You start about talking about you and not just say, hey, I got an issue. You use this, use that. No, create a safe space and talk about yourself first. And then that might, kind of help open things up from a conversation standpoint.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming back on and joining and providing extra feedback. That's so good. He says, put it on you. Is there something that I may be doing? Is there something that's changed in me? Something that I used to do that I no longer do? And that's so good. I loved that. I also want to say and challenge the women on here and also the men, because, you know, he says, well, what changed about him? Did you once have a six-pack and you no longer do? Why do we let ourselves go, right? Why does comfort set in and cause us to let ourselves go, right? I think that it's important that we hold ourselves accountable and that we try to, you know, we stay on top of that and stay accountable to being best versions of ourselves, mind, body, and soul. Let me say that again. I think in relationships, or I strongly believe in relationships, that we should hold ourselves accountable to being the best version of ourselves, mind, body, or soul, regardless of whether or not he's okay with it, right? Whether or not, if he's okay with your mustache, then you know that like, I just feel like let's do it for ourselves. Let's be committed to being the best version of ourselves for ourselves first, right? Because if we do that, then we'll continue to be the best version of ourselves for the people that we love as well. And I also think that conversations of care, this is something that happens in warm zone. This is something that should be happening in relationships ongoing, so that you're not getting to a point where you have all these things that annoy you, things that you don't like, that you never really discussed, never really told her that I have an issue with your spiky legs. I have an issue with us being on the beach and all your nature's coming out the sides of your bikini, right? That you just allowed it to happen for so long. And now it's like a shock, like, wait a minute, we've been together for like 2 years. I've been like this for like a year and a half. And like, oh no, let's have these courageous conversations throughout the relationship. Have your honest time, have your courageous conversation time, your conversations of care when you're on your, you know, every other week when the children aren't around, and you know that this is when we have that conversation of care, that honest time. I think it's important that all couples commit to that, so you're not getting to a place where you're shocked about what the other person is thinking and feeling. Rose says, another thought, see how much is on her plate. Women juggle so much and tend to neglect themselves to care for others' jobs and a household. Thank you so much. That's good. That's alternate feedback. That's a different perspective. Rose says, see how you can relieve her if that's the case. So that's inserting yourself to be more helpful so that she can attend to herself more. That is so good. All right, we have another person on that wants to add some more feedback. This was our first guest. Let me see if, all right, so if you want to come on, you do have to reconnect your microphone so that we can get you back here on stage with Ask Schellie. So, oh, okay, I think you just popped on. All right, go ahead. You are live on stage. We can hear you. You can share your feedback.
All right, real quick, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Actually, you're a little low, I think. Maybe it's just me.
Oh, hold on one second. How about now? Is that better?
Oh, absolutely. Perfect.
Okay. So you really hit it with that courageous conversation. I think a lot of times in the beginning of every relationship, you don't meet the person, you meet their representative. Right? It's kind of like you're going in
I don't want the representative. Yes.
you meet the representative, right? It's like, you know, like in sports, you know, you're meeting my agent to negotiate the terms of the arrangement, you know, before I sign the contract, right? So you kind of get the best foot forward of everyone. And it sounds like he said in the beginning, you know, she did those things. She used to shave regularly, all those things. So she was, you know, definitely doing what she felt that might be pleasing to him and to win the relationship, so to speak, right? And he was probably doing the same things for her, obviously. But I also believe that true love, right? And I really want to just touch on the other color. I salute the male that just spoke because he really hit some points there. But true love is unconditional, redemptive, and sacrificial. It's all three. It's unconditional. It's clear that he loves her. And the reason why we know he loves her is because despite the fact that this has been going on for some time, he's still there. So it's beyond the physical. It's beyond what he's seeing that he genuinely loves her. And I do believe that that conversation definitely needs to be necessary. My only concern is that he can't have the conversation. See, to me, there's something underlying that hasn't been spoken. If you are that uncomfortable to have that conversation with someone that you've been for that period of time, something else, in my opinion, is underlying. Right? So that means that there's a point in your relationship, like we can communicate up to this point. Let's say if it was on a scale of 1 to 10, our conversation meter is at a 7. Well, you'll never reach the next level in your relationship if you don't ever see what 8, 9, and 10 says. John Maxwell says something powerful. It's called the law of the lid. He said that everything rises and falls on leadership, right? You will never attract to you what you are not. So if you're not willing to communicate at a high level of frequency, you'll never attract communication at a high level of frequency, right? So it's important that we set the bar ourselves and we communicate, right? Now, don't get me wrong. It's many times it's often easier said than done, especially when it's something sensitive like that. And I agree with my sister. I think it was Rose that said, about to find out tonight. I think you need to have this conversation before Tuesday night's replay. That's all I'm saying. Like, this conversation needs to take place as soon as possible, right? Because you don't want it to be misconstrued, because heaven forbid she feels embarrassed after listening to this replay. So if you're listening to this and you've gotten to this point, sister, he loves you. It's clear that he loves you. He just didn't know how to properly communicate it. And the fact that he sought it is all about how you see it, right? The fact that he sought a psychotherapist, he sought someone to assist him on how to properly communicate, is another level of effort that he is proving to show how much he loves you. Case in point, we just had another person. If you heard the first message, how do I know he's into me? Hint, hint, clue, clue. If he's willing, especially I know as men, we don't like even thinking about therapy or anything like that. For the most part, I can speak for a couple of men. If he's willing to go that far, it's because he genuinely loves you. But he's at a point where he realizes I'm not equipped enough. I don't understand enough. I'm seeking professional help to help strengthen our relationship. So know that this is an act of love, not an act of shame. Know this is something that he truly desires for the relationship to benefit. And in yourself, you know, because you did it in the beginning, continue to go back. Keep courting after each other. That's the one thing, if I could leave this platform with this, keep courting each other. Don't stop dating. Keep dating your significant other. If you do that, the spice, you'll stay a lot more in the hot zone than you think. You know, just keep dating. So I appreciate you. Thank you for quickly allowing me to just come and share some quick feedback again. But I really, appreciate what the brother said before me. But I also really encourage the man that sent in the message, because that took a lot of courage to put that in there. And he truly loves his woman, because for him to ask, he loves her. Back to you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. That was so good. That was so good. It's called reframing. Like, because you can say this was so embarrassing, this was so horrible, and he could have done this so many different ways. Why bring this on a live show? Or you can say that this was a manifestation of love. And I think sometimes we just have to, not sometimes, I think all of us should master the art of reframing, especially when our emotions try to get in there and cause us to feel that something really, really healthy and helpful, that's challenging, but also contributes to our growth. Even when it doesn't feel so good, that we can acknowledge that it's necessary, right? So this is a man that loves his woman. It's something that he doesn't like, has having some issues with communicating that. The person who provided the feedback said, what is the root of that, right? What is the root of that? Why can't this woman, and why hasn't this woman shared with her boyfriend what her needs are, to share her discomfort with initiating all contact? Why hasn't this man been able to earlier on explain how he feels, or what his desires are, what his expectations are in terms of the hair content or the hair level on his woman's body?
we have to dig deep to really, really understand and expose the why. What is the root? What is the why that keeps us from being able to effectively communicate? If it's a skill deficit, you can learn how to effectively communicate. Therapy does that. Coaching does that. If it's a skill deficit, if you don't feel safe because you guys have not been able to master that as a couple, couples counseling will assist with that, will help to maximizing your ability to effectively communicate with one another. There's so many things that we can explore as the root. We are out of time. It can't go any deeper, but it's so good to hear that, you know what, it's important, sir, to really examine the why. The root of why you haven't been able to communicate this before. We hope that this feedback helps you, that you have this courageous conversation before she sees the replay. Get her that spa package and commit to having ongoing conversations of care with the person that you love. Guys, I wanted to just hang up and just end this live when he quoted, did he say that was John Maxwell? I want to make sure that I'm quoting the right person. You will never attract what you are not. Come on, somebody. Was that just me? You will never attract what you are not. Oh my gosh. That means that the things that you desire from the man that you're expecting, that you should commit yourself to being that first. Come on. All right, that was John Maxwell. Jewel Maxwell says, great points made. Good to hear a man's point of view. She goes on to say, it's how you choose to see it, not a thing of shame, but out of love. He asked for help. And that's what this is about. We get a lot of people that come on here and they are asking for help. They want feedback. This is why I always encourage each and every one of you to engage and contribute to this conversation. We didn't get to the last question. This is a person who has a really, really, really hard time getting up in the morning. I want to make sure that I give this person thorough feedback because I am concerned about possible depression. I will be sure to highlight this question when we go live next week, right here on the Ask Schellie Show. For each and every one of you who tuned in today, thank you so much for your support of the Ask Schellie Show, where we are committed to providing feedback and psychoeducation that causes your toolbox, right? Your wellness toolbox, your wellness life toolbox to be overflowing. We want our listeners to be able to take their anger from a 10 to a 7. We want our listeners to be able to take their anxiety from a 7 to a 4. We want our listeners to be able to communicate their needs and expectations to their loved ones. We want our listeners to be assertive. We want our listeners to have habits that attract great and favorable life outcomes. We want our listeners to have thought patterns that serve them. We want our listeners to be able to walk in prosperity and abundance. And usually that destination is on the other side of something you do not know. So every week as we go live, we are hoping that our listeners walk away with extra tools that they can add to their toolbox. Go ahead and be sure to click share. The more shares we have, the wider range this impact, right? The impact of this show, specifically this episode, will have with over to and through relationships all throughout this world. So again, on behalf of all of us here at Ask Schellie Consulting LLC, thank you so much for your support, your shares, and thank you for tuning in. Make sure now, if you heard something today that made you feel uncomfortable, something that made you feel like, oh boy, maybe I do need to learn how to communicate. Maybe I do need to dig a little bit deeper as to why I don't do certain things anymore, or why I don't have these courageous conversations, or if there was anything that you heard that struck a chord, be sure to visit me. www.askschellie.com. If it's not me, one of my consultants will assist you in getting connected with someone that can help you, right? You can get a consultation and book a consultation right there on www.askschellie.com. You can also submit your challenging and courageous questions right there on my website as well. Again, that's www.askschellie.com. You can also email directly info@askschellie.com. You can do so for individual and group support. You can do so to submit your challenging questions. info@askschellie.com. For those of you who want access to all of my videos, the 1.5 years worth of videos that I have on anger management and overcoming depression and overcoming suicidal thoughts and navigating through grief and other traumatic challenges, you can have access by subscribing to my YouTube channel. You can find me at Ask Schellie as well. Again, our hope and our desire is that this show continues to be a contributor and a depositor into your wellness account. We all have the responsibility to be the best versions of ourselves, understanding that the only competition that we have was and is who we were yesterday. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Your breakthrough often lies on something you do not know. So be intentional about your growth and be great in all that you do. Be well. You deserve it.